When it comes to the matter on colonization and getting independence, Namibia is surely the land for the brave. Today, I'm going to take you through the sad and the whole comprehensive story on how Namibia was colonized by the Germans and the South Africa altogether. We will also have an understanding on why.
About that, why we have Robert Mugabe, why we have a street named after Fidel Castro Street,
Yeah,
and then about this gentleman as well.
over here. Yeah.
This gentleman here, his name is Captain Hendrik Boy. He's from the Nama tribe. It's a tribe in the southern part of the country originally. The man in the middle over there, his name is Chief Hosea Kutako. You did fly here, right?
Yes, I flew.
Okay. So Hosea Kutako Airport is named after the gentleman.
Yeah, I really wanted to understand why Hosea.
Yeah, so Chief Hosea Kutako is a chief from the Herero tribe. He's originally from the western part of the country. And then the man behind you there, his name is Reverend Theophilus. His surname is quite difficult, so I'm going to skip the surname. Because neither of us will be able to pronounce the surname. Yeah. Hamutumbangela.
Okay, that's so long.
Yeah,
from
exactly.
The first place.
Yeah, it comes in once in a while. Yeah, okay. So these three guys are from three different tribes who have done quite a lot for the Namibian independence. That's the reason why they are the ones in front of the parliament building, because of what they have come up with to fight for independence in the country in a peaceful way. Okay. So I'm gonna get there. So the man here, Captain Hendrik Boy, he's a grandson of Captain Hendrik Boy, which you will find on our money.
Okay.
If you look at our 50, 100 and 200, see the men there? They almost look alike. So the man on our money, his name is Captain Hendrik Boy, which was the first fighter in the country during the German time. Okay. The Nama people were the first people affected during the German time. They were the first people that fought the Germans. Came to Namibia, it was the same thing as well. They started in the south, which the Nama people were the first people to be affected. So now when these men became older, the grandson decided to take over and then continue the legacy of him fighting for his people. But then at the beginning of the whole, fighting during that time, people were fighting for their tribes, because it was like a divided country. You fight for your own people. That's how it was. Okay. So later on, he decided that he realized that fighting as an individual, it wasn't making sense and it wasn't bringing freedom in the country. There are tribes come together, unite each other, and then fight as a country instead of as tribes. So that's what he did when the South African came to the country, because there was a lot of massacres happening around. So he realized that a lot of local people were losing their lives because people were fighting. You fight for your people, and then after you have won the war or whatever, you stay there and the rest of the people continue fighting. So it unity between tribes, that they must come together and fight as one instead of as individuals. And then he was also one of the leaders that were fighting for the rights of the black people. I told you we were colonized with the apartheid system in the country, where education was only meant for the white kids, or some certain rights were only meant for the white people instead of the black people. So he was fighting for the rights of black people to be able to do free movement around the country, education and stuff like that. Okay. And then the man in the middle, his tribe was involved in a genocide, quite one of the famous genocide that is known in the country, that happened during the German time. That genocide took quite a lot of the Herero people. Okay, so now during the South African time, he realized a lot of people were dying. That's why on his statue they've put up an indication of a gun on his side of the statue, where it's down facing backwards. That is to indicate that we have put down our weapons. We don't want to fight with violence anymore. We come up with a different way to fight for independence. So he's the one that came up with an idea of writing petition letters to the United Nations. So the letters was including of them telling the United Nations what is happening in the country, and also asking for their help, pleading for their help and stuff like that. So now when he came up with that idea, he decided that he's gonna involve Captain and then the men on the other side, the Reverend. Okay, so these three guys here came together, united, and then started writing petition letters to the United Nations. But then, because we've been going through the apartheid system, Namibian people didn't have, especially the black people, didn't have the freedom to move out of the country, only within the country, meaning their letters was never reaching the United Nations, which is based in America, in New York. So it was impossible, because they never had the freedom to move out. They could only write the letters, but never representing the United Nations. So at some point it became useless, until a British man called Reverend Michael Scott, who used to stay here. He's white, so men in the big.
That one.
Yeah. The Reverend. Before he became a Reverend, he was a teacher. Now he was educating the local people on how to read, write, and speak English, because that's mostly the language that the United Nations will understand, and they wanted more people to get involved. So now, him being a teacher was kind of a threat to the South African. They did not like it, to the point where they said that he should quit teaching, otherwise he gets, killed. So he had an option to become a priest. Now him becoming a priest was actually a good thing, because now he had the freedom to move freely around the country, because he was known as a holy man by the South African, a man of God who couldn't do any harm, because he changed his ways now and stuff like that. And churches did play a role as well in fighting for independence, because now he used that part there to inform people to get involved in the fighting for independence through writing petition letters. So later on, he said that he's going to use the fact that he is a priest to go present letters to the United Nations. So what he used to do is that he writes the letters, smuggles them in the middle of the Bible, and then he crosses the border telling the South Africans he's going to preach in other neighboring countries. So instead of him going to do that, he was actually going to present letters to the United Nations.
Wow.
At some point, he got caught. The year 1966, where the South African found out that he was actually not going to preach, he was going to the United Nations to present letters. They put him in prison, quite a famous prison in South Africa called Robben Island, where Nelson Mandela was kept. That's a prison where they put him, gave him a poison and stuff like that, which the poison made him handicapped and also mentally ill as well. But he was a strong man, because he survived for all those years. He has been there ever since the year 1966 until the year 1990. Okay, so the same year we got independence is the same year he died. And the good thing is that he died 7 months after independence. So he was aware that the country had gotten freedom. As for Captain, he died the year 1978, so he wasn't aware. And then the guy in the middle, he died the year 1976. Okay? So they were not aware that the country got freedom. But then at least now those letters got somewhere, because a lot of people got involved, and then it became like a huge thing. The creative organizations come up with those things, people going to present letters themselves to the United Nations, until the United Nations came to Namibia with the resolution 435, came to help the country get freedom from South Africa in a peaceful way. Okay, so that's what it means by Namibia got freedom in a peaceful way, because the United Nations stepped in, came to Namibia, and then there was a lot of things that were put on the table, agreements, conditions, and stuff like that, and that's how we got independence from South Africa, with the help of the United Nations. So basically, these guys are being in front of the Parliament building. They're facing the building, and they're also facing the direction of our sun rising. Just to indicate that these guys here came up with a good way of fighting for independence, a peaceful way for that matter. So whatever decision that is being made in the Parliament building should be done the same way as well, peaceful and for the good of the country. Okay, so that's the reason why they are here. Government house, meaning this is where they did their office work, their meetings, their conferences, and everything. When the South African took over, it became a South African government house. And many people get confused when we say Namibia was ruled by South Africa. We rule the same way as the South African, with the white part of South Africa is the one that ruled the country. In the beginning, when they came the year 1915, they came under the British government, because they were also they were being colonized by the British as well in South Africa. And then later on, it was completely under the South African government, with the apartheid system that took place in South Africa took place here as well. Okay, so that's how, just not to get confused. After we got our independence, it became the official Parliament building of Namibia. The building is still in use, and it's divided in 2 chambers. We have an upper chamber and a down chamber. So our upper chamber is called a National Assembly, and the down chamber is called a National Council. Okay, so the seats in the Parliament building are 104 in total, the up and the down, which 42 belongs to the councillors, and the rest of them belongs to the National Assembly. So how the National Assembly and the councillors came about is that after 5 years, we vote for our president and a party to rule the country. After whoever have won the elections, now does the decisions of who's going to be the minister of that and that and that and that. So those make up the National Assembly people. Okay, and then now the National Council, we vote them the following year. Like 2019, we had elections, and then 2020, last year November, we had elections for the National Council. Those ones, they represent regions. We have 14 regions, so now each region have councillors that are representing them, voted by the people as well. Okay, so mostly, let me say that our councillors are middlemen. So when we have like problems as communities, our councillors take upon that, and then they bring it up to the bigger people, and then the decisions are made there. Okay? Cool. And then so I told you we have 104 members. So before 2019 elections, for 5 years, the parliament building had 92 seats that belonged to one party, which is the ruling party called SWAPO. Okay, so SWAPO had 92 seats out of 104, but then when we had elections 2019, they have dropped from 92 to 63 now. Okay, so 2019 elections have done a lot of damage.
Damages done good.
The reason why I say damages is because now, for the first time, people had elections and people were not happy. Others were happy. There was protests that happened after elections. There was complications, but then also, besides it doing damages because of all those things, it did quite well. For example, my personal opinion, I feel like they did good by voting other political parties to get involved, because now instead of 92 seats that belongs to one party, there's 63, meaning the other parties have now a lot of seats in the parliament building, meaning they have a say in decision making, like involving other parties. And then the country has not been to a better place before 2019 elections. So we'll see how that works now. The fact that there are other people involved. Maybe there will be some changes, or maybe it will get worse, or maybe it will get better.
Know your opinions on this discussion in the comment section. I would be glad to hear your contribution on the same.
So everybody knows the famous Nelson Mandela, right? He's like our own Mandela. His name is Dr. Sam Nyoma, known as the founding president and the father of the nation. Okay, he's our first president who served the country for 15 years. His statue being here doesn't mean he died. He's still alive, and he will be turning, I think, 91 this year.
He's still alive. Wow.
It's a blessing to
I think this is like the first statue of someone who's alive that I've seen.
Many statues of
people who already died.
So I think it's just because we're praising him and thanking him for what he has done for the country.
Anyway, he's your first president.
Exactly. He did quite well. He's the one that came up with the first he was part of the coming up of the first political party called SWAPO, which has been ruling Namibia ever since the year 1990 until now. Him and the party have done quite a lot for the country's independence. They took over the whole writing of petition letters to the United Nations and made it bigger and better, even in a way they made it possible for people to be able to go present the letters themselves to the United Nations. They came up with a lot of solutions there and there to help the country get independence or stay safe. For example, refugee camp. So there was one of the biggest massacre that happened in the country in the year 1978 on the 4th of May. So that massacre took place in Angola. How it happened in Angola instead of Namibia is that there was a refugee camp that were created by him and his party and other members, where like a lot of local people were being sent out. Now they were camping in the area of Angola, nearby the borders of Namibia. So when the South Africans heard about that, they were not really appreciating the fact that it was like a solution, and then is to for the local people not to find solutions. So it was a big thing, to the point where they flew all the way to Angola, bombed the whole area. A lot of people lost their lives. That's when Dr. Sam Nyoma here realized that even though they were writing petition letters and fighting the South Africans, they were not able to do it by themselves. They needed help from outsiders. So he asked help. Fidel Castro from Cuba provided doctors to come help the country out with people that were injured. There were doctors to treat them. And then Robert Mugabe helped the country by providing soldiers. So to say thank you for what they have done for Namibia, we have put streets or hospitals or clinics or schools that are named after these people. They are not the only Fidel Castro and Robert Mugabe. There are other people as well. Nelson Mandela. We have a lot of people here named after like cities named after people who have done something for Namibia. Okay? So that is just a way of us saying thank you. And then when it comes to North Korea helped the country by providing weapons. So some of the weapons that we used in the country to fight the independence or to fight the South Africans were from North Korea. And you know North Korea is very advanced in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you do know that not everything is for free, right? There are certain things that you need to pay back. So that's what happened with North Korea. So when they helped Namibia out with some weapons, we got independence, right?
Yeah.
And then they came back to Namibia wanting something in return of the weapons.
Okay.
What they wanted was uranium. So Namibian, we have uranium here, and they need uranium for their nuclear bombs. So basically we had that. So it makes sense that they helped the country and they wanted that.
That's in exchange, yeah.
So it's more like we are responsible for their bombs that they have.
No.
Great.
Sad.
Not me, but
Them.
they. Okay?
Yeah.
Me. I wasn't born yet. Okay?
Yeah.
I found the things there. Everyone else found the things there, okay? So that's what happened. So now in the process of them getting uranium in the country, the government came up with an agreement where they got contracts to build official buildings in the country. For example, a bank, a state house where the president stays, or a soldier base and stuff like that, in exchange of uranium. So instead of them being paid money, they got paid uranium. Okay? So basically, North Korea being in the country, it was a political reason and it was also a business reason as well.
No.
Okay?
Yeah.
So now, in that process of them building a lot of buildings in the country, they built 7 of them. Okay? So in that process, a lot of countries were not finding it very nice that Namibia has a connection with North Korea. So they started complaining slowly there and there, until now to the point where we got this museum here. This is called an Independence Memorial Museum, which was built the year 2014 by North Korea as a gift. Okay?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't take it as a gift. They feel like it was a bribe. North Korea trying to bribe us, so they keep the connection instead of getting uranium in the country.
Yeah.
Other people took it as it is, as a gift from North Korea. But then immediately after this was built, countries became more angry to the point that they started complaining that no, if Namibia don't cut ties with North Korea, they'll cut ties with us. And as a developing country, we are depending on so many countries for so many things. So it only makes sense that we get rid of North Korea, that we're only benefiting buildings, then other countries will be benefiting more. Okay?
Yeah.
So currently, as we're speaking, North Korea and Namibia don't have
Any connection.
We have cut ties with them. They're not welcome here, and yeah, even them themselves, they're not welcome to travel. So
Oh, they can't even travel.
it's very rare for you to find
A North Korean
travel.
visiting
Yeah,
here.
very, very rare.
Okay.
Okay? So we don't have any connection as we're speaking, but 2019, 69% of the uranium shares got sold to China. So it's like we got rid of North Korea.
But now you're back to China.
It's like exhausting. When the genocide was one of the longest war that took place during the German time. It took place from the year 1904 all the way to 1908. But then it only affected 2 tribes in Namibia. The Germans fought with the Nama and the Herero people only within the genocide. Okay?
Yeah.
So the warfare started with the Herero people, and then later on the Nama people also got involved. And behind the whole genocide was land. So when the German came here, their main reasons was because of land and resources. So basically fights used to happen where in the middle, let me say for instance, me and you occupy this area, and the Germans wanted either for resources they discover here. So now they will fight us to move away from the place, and because we don't want to give it up, you know, that's how fights used to happen in between the local people and the Germans.
Yeah.
So the genocide also took place like that, where now there was a lot of things that got involved that lead to what local people dying. Like for example, people were forcibly moved to the Namib desert, and then prepare food, water. Their food was poisoned. I mean, their food was taken away and their water had poison. So basically they had nothing to eat, nothing to drink. That's the reason why some people died either from starvation or survivors look like the way the image look on the other side.
Yeah.
So now some of those survivors came to Windhoek later on when the Nama people got involved. They were kept in a concentration camp where the museum is built now.
Yeah.
So the reason why the museum is called an Independence Memorial Museum. It's a beautiful name for the museum because of where it's even built. It's built on top of a concentration camp. This is where the Nama people and the Herero people were kept here. Some of them died in this area from diseases. Others died either from fighting, or others were hanged to death, as you can see here.
What?
Okay?
Yeah.
So the deaths were caused by starvation, diseases, and hanged to death or being shot when they were fighting. Okay? process for our independence. So their blood is the independence that the freedom that we are enjoying currently.
Right now. Yeah.
And then the statue that is up there, it's a man and a woman. As you can see, it shows people hugging each other. That is an indication of unity. And then it shows a fist up. That is an indication of victory. And then the broken of chain, that is an indication of freedom.
Wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, embracing each other, like the hugging of each other is unity. The broken chain is freedom. And then the fist up is victory. Okay?
Wow.
I'm glad that you made it to the end of today's lesson, and I hope you also learned one or two things about Namibia, their history, how they got independence, and how they were able to fight all through. Thank you guys for watching this video. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video, as we are going to be debugging and unpacking some of the facts about Namibia that I for sure think you didn't know. See you tomorrow. Bye.